Alors, we must make a test. From the person who speak remotely, do you hear me properly? Yes?
Okay. It's okay. Thanks. Thanks.
That's perfect. A remote conference which works. It's amazing. So thanks for the administrative staff for the good work. So it is the final session. We will speak about a specific question, very important for the European Federation of Energy Law, is the question of the expansion of EFELA, and notably the question the energy law issues in the country not yet member or who join which joined recently EFELA as an observer. And we will have in this panel some speaker in person and some speaker remotely. I propose to decompose the roundtable in 3 steps. The first one, a quick presentation from each person. A second time to discuss about special issue and critical issue from in each country per country. And a third question on the necessity to develop solidarity between energy lawyers at the European scope, and notably in the frame of the European Federation of Energy Law. The idea is to see if it could be helpful to develop that. Alors, maybe I begin with the person with you, and could you present yourself from Poland, Grzegorz Zych? Yes, I pronounce that well. Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
And thank you very much for inviting me here. My name is Grzegorz Zych. I'm from University of Economics in Katowice, and I'm both a lecturer at the university, and I'm trying also to practice law in a law firm. So I'm trying to be in both worlds. And so I can answer the first question, right? Or just introduction? Okay.
Thank you very much for your invitation. My name is Szuchy. I'm a professor of energy law in the Budapest Károly Gáspár University. I'm director of the energy law study program at the same time, and I'm a legal practitioner in the field of energy law in Budapest and in Brussels as well, really focusing and specialized on smart grids and energy efficiency, and especially for the regulation of electricity market. So thank you very much to be here, and I hope we have a very fruitful discussions. And at the same time, I see old friends from Sarajevo, Andrius, Simkus. I'm very happy that we're on the same panel. Big hi for you, and I hope we have a fruitful discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grzegorz. Alors maybe we could pursue with Andrius, Simkus.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, thank you very much for the organizers for this invitation. I really had to be with you physically, but unfortunately, the flight was canceled yesterday. And apparently reaching from Vilnius, Bayonne and Angers is a little bit complicated. So unfortunately, I cannot enjoy this amazing venue which you have. My name is Andrius Simkus, as presented. I'm an energy law practitioner working across, closely 20 jurisdictions in Europe, and currently based in Lithuania, in the biggest Baltic law firm, Sorainen. I specialize basically in all fields of energy, with only energy efficiency being the field which I don't really like, but all others like electricity, nuclear, gas, and etc. Today I will be voicing all 3 Baltic countries, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And in this respect, and in EFELA's activity, I will address the issues of all 3 countries. So thank you very much once again. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Andrius, and I think that we will have many occasions to welcome you in Bayonne. We will succeed in the future. Constantinos Tsimaras from Cyprus.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. Unfortunately, I did not make it to be in Biarritz. I would like to be with you in physical presence, but it was a little bit difficult, and the airport connection is not very easy. So my name is Constantin Tsimaras. I am a professor of public law at the European University of Cyprus. I am the president of the administrative board of our research center concerning energy issues in research center in our university. I am also a member of the independent administrative authority of the Greek regulator of energy, the equivalent of CRE in France. And also I am the vice president of MEDREG. MEDREG is an international organization with headquarters in Milan. It is the union, the association of all regulators of Mediterranean countries. Both three sides, Europe, North Africa, and Middle East. So I'm very happy to be with you, and I wish to all of us a very fruitful conference.
Thank you a lot, Constantin. We could let the floor at Laura Huomo from Finland, Maître Laura Huomo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. My name is Laura Huomo. I work as a partner in a global law firm called Bird & Bird, but I work in our Helsinki office, and I'm responsible for the Nordics and our energy operations. I have a PhD on gas pipeline and gas infrastructure, so that's my oldest trade in the energy space, but now, of course, moving towards the renewable gases and renewables in more general. So lots of solar projects, batteries, and of course, hydrogen is on everybody's minds nowadays. Very happy to be here.
Thank you a lot, Maître. And Maître Peter Grima from Malta.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here, even though remotely. So my name is Peter Grima. I'm a senior associate at Fenech & Fenech Advocates in Malta, which is a multidisciplinary law firm. My main areas of practice are shipping and energy law matters, with particular focus on financings. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to having a discussion with everyone.
Thank you a lot. Maybe for the person remotely, just concerning the public, we are all energy lawyers. Numerous of us are members of EFELA. The idea today is to discuss the main concern, the main issue of energy law in the different countries of European Union and also in European Union itself. The idea is to we have had some discussion on the link between energy law and the concept of justice in order to enhance a more fair and sustainable energy transition at the European Union level. We have raised a lot of issues: the war in Ukraine, the question of the competitiveness of the internal market, notably the electricity, the concern for the wholesale market. And the idea for this panel, I do that under the supervision of the president of the European Federation of Energy Law, is to address the main issue in your different country, in your country in particular, but also the issue you observe more international, more European, but which concern your specific country. And the second time, after this first round, we will discuss about the possibility to address this subject collectively. I'm right, President? Okay, so let us begin by you, Grzegorz. Zych. Okay, now okay, and maybe with the case of Poland. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much again. So when I was preparing myself for this presentation, for this roundtable, and I was reading the topic of our roundtable, especially the first question about the biggest issue of energy law in Poland, it was like someone asked me a question, what's my favorite movie? Because, well, everyone should have at least one, but then again, you saw so many that it's hard to pick one. So, but then again, I tried, I found something I would like to talk about. And then again, I had my first international scientific conference about energy law, and you raised so many questions, and I found them so very real in my own country. But still, I'd like to say about two main issues, if it's okay. First of them, which I think for all of you is not a surprise, it's coal. The coal and how the coal works, how we use coal in Poland, how many real challenges it creates back home. And the second problem is energy law itself. During the first panel, there was already a discussion about the complexity of energy law. So I'd like to give you some numbers of our law bills in Poland. So if you were ever wondering, currently in Poland, we have at least 19 different legal acts concerning energy in general, which means gas, electric energy, but also different support systems because of the conflict in Ukraine, etc., etc. And now imagine that every single one of those legislative acts has some other delegated acts. And we can go up to 30 or even 40 legal regulations about energy law. So even if you're a professional, even if you're studying energy law for years, it's really hard to find anything. My mentor, Professor Czarnecka, who is first person to comment energy law in Poland, she used to say that at the beginning, when she started 20 years ago, a commentary on this one bill, energy law in Poland, was something like this. Currently, it's over 2,000 pages, and no one really understands it. So I would say that the complexity is extremely important issue in Poland, especially that we need to modify our law constantly to, of course, implement certain EU mechanisms. And so even though sometimes the mechanisms are absolutely fantastic, or they must work, when you try to implement them to our complex system, well, that's a real trouble, and no one really knows how to work with it. But the second issue, the coal. So for all of those unaware, in Poland, coal takes about 64% of our energy mix. Even though our renewable system is growing, which is currently 27% of our energy mix, so it's a huge progression for Poland. We have this one single issue concerning coal, how to replace it. And so we face many ideas. We tried for a moment to replace coal with gas, but as we know, gas, it might not be the best solution, especially thinking about the conflict in Ukraine. We are thinking about nuclear energy, and there are some steps to actually do it, but as we already know, nuclear energy will not be the answer. And of course, there is the matter of renewable energy. But the problem is that even that renewable energy is extremely popular, both in public-owned companies and private companies, and even physical people all around Poland. We have some technological issues which law, unfortunately, does not describe. And those issues are grid connectivity. We don't have currently any law mechanism to somehow govern the technical issues of our grids, and so the renewable energy will just simply not advance in the future. In the last year, I found this number in 2022, almost 7,000 renewable investments were rejected from a grid connection because the grid was simply outdated, not repaired enough, and it just wasn't ready for such an amount of renewable energy. And so we are still looking for a proper mechanism, for a proper legal action, or maybe some works of the regulator or energy companies to somehow get this problem behind ourselves, to somehow tackle this obstacle. But I would say that this is currently, well, the biggest issue of a Polish law, energy law. Thank you.
Thank you a lot for these two issues. Very interesting. So, Gregory, Robert, could you pursue and
yes. So today I just really would like to talk about social justice and electricity crisis, energy crisis in Hungary, what we have right now, because our main topic today is talking about social justice in the field of energy anyway. And Hungary was strongly affected by the war in Ukraine, which is happening right now. And Hungarian citizens and also companies were heavily affected by the increase of price of electricity and the gas at the same time. Unfortunately, I believe that there was lots of speculation on that. So traders tried to increase the price of the electricity and the gas. I'm not sure that that was always a fair way to do so. And I think there wasn't enough intervention from the competition authority to do that. But in the end of the day, we faced with serious problems that the service providers were not willing to survive certain customers just because they were really afraid of the non-payment risks. But what type of solutions we have in Hungary and what Hungary did in the last few years related to social justice? Was it the right choice? Was it too general? Or the question for me, is it really for serving the people's well-being, and is it really social, or just as a tool, some political game, and just some political tool for some political parties? That's always the big question. A few years ago, Hungary introduced the so-called energy cutback bill, which basically fixed the price of electricity and gas for households and small and medium enterprises. It has just a general rule. So basically, all citizens get discounted tariffs with unlimited consumption. So if you had a pool and you heated pool during the winter time, you were also eligible for that regime. Or if you had a very low income, you had the same basically benefit from the state. So if you were rich and you're consuming more, you get more benefit. If you were poor, you just enjoy the little discount anyway. And last year, so basically this year, the Hungarian government introduced a new public service obligation imposed on electricity and one gas and several electricity traders for 2 years due to the war in Ukraine. It means that there is a fixed tariff for gas and a fixed tariff for electricity, but not for unlimited level. So it depends on your household, the type of your household, how many kids you have. It depends. Basically, it's based on your size of the family. It's an interesting approach anyway. You have a different amount of energy what you are eligible for discounted price. And this price is set by the law. But those companies, on which companies the public service obligation has been imposed, they get compensation from the state. And above that amount of energy, households and small and medium enterprises are also eligible for basically a regulated tariffs. But that tariffs, it's not set by the law, but it's a cost-based tariffs, more or less, determined by the Hungarian Energy and Public Regulatory Authority. So, and this new law shall last till the end of 2023. So it's basically it goes for 2 years. So this is where we are right now. And actually in Hungary, it's always a big problem, that not a big question, whether we really try to drive these things in a social way or just a political thing. Another thing, just for, I don't want to waste too much time, but the Hungarian state would like to really intervene in not only for household contracts, but also business contracts. And just yesterday, the Hungarian government announced that for those companies which had a bad fixed contracts, because that sometimes in the electricity market, companies contracted for 1 or 2 years for fixed price. Therefore, for those companies which are contracted with bad conditions, they still remained with that bad conditions for a long time, and it's really generate inflation. And then the government intervened, and they shall modify the price into 200 megawatts, 200 euros per megawatt hours max. And it's going to be a really huge intervention into the market, and it shall affect traders in a very difficult way. The future, we'll see how it's going to be, but it is a new recent development in the Hungarian market. So this is what we have right now, and thank you very much for sharing all this information with you.
Thank you, Robert, for this analysis of the situation of the energy sector in Hungary. Andrius, we pursue on the same with.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I have 3 issues to tackle, but I will try to be as concise as possible. I believe in the Baltics we have a huge specificity if compared to other EU member states in overall energy sectoral setup, and this specificity is high energy dependence, and of course, not a surprise, this dependency was inherited from ex-Soviet times, and this dependency very much relied on Russian energy and energy sources supplies. So basically, our both energy policy and law for the last 2 decades was built in order to get out of this dependency and to reach, if not self-sufficiency, but at least to get rid of Russia's energy dictate. So in other words, you know, in the Baltics, we knew that for ages that Russia is not a trusted partner and that they are weaponizing energy as such. So actually everything was built to change the situation and to move into more competitive, more reliable energy markets. So what energy law has to do with that? So first of all, we had to create legal environment for building new energy infrastructure projects. And with that, with more specificity on energy, on infrastructural energy developments, we managed to have new electricity links with Finland from Estonia, with Sweden and Poland from Lithuania. We managed to build LNG terminal in Lithuania, and now it is being developed commonly by Finland and Estonia. We managed to build a new gas link, which was a very great achievement in order to increase pressure upon Gazprom and Russian gas supplies. And this way we built a gas connection between Lithuania and Poland. And of course, we increased quite significantly and further increasing the share of renewables in our overall energy balance. And this is where energy law was given a crucial role in order to build a trusted, a transparent environment for constructing these infrastructure objects. The second point of energy law was penetrating extra competition into inherently concentrated markets. So not fully 10 years ago, actually less than 10 years ago, our natural gas market was 100% controlled by Gazprom, with full gas price dictate. At that time, back in 2014, we were paying the highest price in Europe just because Gazprom wanted so. While now we have quite opposite situation, we are not importing Russian gas at all. And this was, of course, a great achievement, both by infrastructure developments coupled with proper legal regime and transparency. Another challenge from the legal perspective was actually to introduce tailored energy market rules in all 3 Baltic states, and at the same time to stay in compliance with ever-changing energy and quite demanding energy regulation and energy market rules coming from the EU. And in many cases, we had to prove that our tailored regime is not opposing energy market rules, is not opposing competition or state aid rules. So this was a constant drill with the European Commission, with DG Ener, DG Comp, in order to prove our cases and to prove that our market opening, or so to say, this rough market opening by penetrated energy competition was the right thing to do. So this maneuvering, of course, added an extra spice in our energy legal system, and well, honestly speaking, created and still creates well, quite significant job for energy lawyers. So this is the first point, the energy independence. The second one is not surprising, it's green energy transition. In the Baltics, we don't have this issue of carbon playing a role as it is in our closest neighbor, Poland. But at the same time, in Lithuania, and again, inherently, because, well, Soviet system was well, at least in our part of Europe, in the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, was built in a diversified way, where Lithuania was constructed as a nuclear power system, Latvia mainly as a hydropower system because of Daugava River, and Estonia has, as you know, one of the biggest markets in the world of oil shale. So they were using oil shale, well, burn it for energy conversion. So actually, our green energy transition means that Lithuania is, well, it already phased out its nuclear energy infrastructure. So basically, we're moving towards the green energy and minimizing the use of natural gas. At the same time, Latvia is also minimizing use of natural gas and advancing with wind and solar energy developments. And of course, Estonia has this issue, well, quite similarly as Poland has with carbon. So Estonia has it with oil shale because, you know, this is a huge industry, huge employer. And basically, it's not very easy to shift from using oil shale towards more green energy, renewable energy. But again, this is part of this green energy transition. And the main role of energy law as such is, of course, to create a transparent investment environment, trust foreign investors, and attracting investors, and if that is needed, incentivization. And for example, currently, a big issue is discussion on incentivization of offshore wind energy developments in the Baltic Sea. And the third aspect, or the third issue which I wanted to talk about, is the fair energy pricing. So basically managing, first of all these energy price shocks and fluctuations. Apparently we have very small markets, and therefore a very strong and independent energy regulator is needed, which would overlook the market behavior of suppliers, and basically be ready to intervene if that is needed. So we have regulatory regime which allows price regulation in exceptional cases, which allows establishing certain subsidy schemes, as just Robert talked about Hungary. We have a similar compensation scheme during this energy crisis of the last couple of years. And of course, adding an extra spice to our fair energy pricing, we have, as I call it, a dilemma of values. Because basically the Baltic states had made a principled decision not to import any energy, well, as much as possible. And basically there's a ban for all commercial imports of any type of energy from Russia and Belarus. So basically, you know, we have, so to say, if we put aside all our values and what we cherish, and say that, well, importing electricity produced in Astravets nuclear power plant, you know, that newly built nuclear power plant in Belarus, would be so much cheaper than producing it from renewable energy sources in-house. But on the other hand, we know that all these imports would add and would contribute to basically sponsoring the terrorist regime, which Russia and Belarus currently have. So in this case, we forbade all commercial energy imports from Russia and Belarus, and the small amounts of electricity from this system gets into our system just because we still have this synchronous area of the so-called Brel ring, because Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia are the only EU member states which are not synchronized with continental European network. But again, based on energy legislation and on projects currently being implemented, we will connect to the continental European network, I believe in 2025, plus a little bit, few months probably of 2026. And we will be then completely out of our previously inherited system. So briefly, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Andrius. I propose to Constantin to pursue the development. Maybe I instead to keep the time. The idea is to promote the discussion on the solidarity aspect after. But it's very interesting, and thank you a lot, Constantin.
Okay, I will try to not exceed the 8 minutes, so we can have time for discussion. So first of all, in Greece, we used to use coal for electricity production. Now, because of the Paris Convention and also because of the EU legislation, we reduced the use of coal. We have only 2 or 3 units now using coal for the production of electricity. And essentially, we use coal as a plan B, as a reserve for the energy production. We had the dependence from the Russian gas. About 40% of the electricity production was from the imports of Russian gas. After the Russian invasion in Ukraine, we achieved to proceed at the diminution of the imports of Russian gas from 40% to 8%. So in the moment, this percentage is declining. That means that probably in the next year we will not have, or we will have less than 5% of gas imports from Russia. Instead, we increase the imports of LNG. We had one LNG terminal in the island of Revithousa next to the Piraeus port. We will have another one. We have other construction and terminal with an FSRU ship in the north of Greece in Alexandroupoli, and we will use it to send gas from Greece to Bulgaria, to Republic of North Macedonia, and also even to Romania. We will, for a few months during winter, we had an FSRU in Revithousa Island because of the winter, to avoid any lack of gas. And we use also, according to the EU legislation, Italy for gas storage. As you know, have the obligation to have a storage. Every country has an obligation to have a percentage of storage. We use the Italian storage capacities for us, because practically in Greece there is no big units for storage of gas. Of course, we increase the role of renewables in the production of electricity. We will have 3 calls for electricity storage in batteries linked to renewables. And so we will use the electricity storage in batteries to assure the stability of the electricity system. Concerning the protection of consumers, we will proceed to the amendment of electricity and natural gas supplies codes. Also, we have a publication of retail prices of all the electricity production companies every month. We have all new regulatory measures for this transition period due to the energy crisis. As you know, the European Commission decided to give an end to the financial aid for the consumers at the 3rd of June, I think, or July. I'm not remember. Of July. We had a project for a second wave of financial help to consumers from July to October, but we have to see what will happen if the European Commission stays at this decision. And we have also a new mechanism concerning the transparency in contract information. which is for the electricity consumers, which is very important. And well, in a few words, this is about the whole image concerning the electricity and gas market. And of course, there is the discussion. We're following and participate in the discussion of the redesign of the electricity market.
Merci, Constantinos. Thank you a lot, Constantinos. I propose to pursue maybe with Laura Huomo and to finalize Peter Grima. Laura Huomo, please.
Sure. My topic stands around to some extent with the same topics as Andrius, so I'll be very brief. As you all know, Finland is a northern country, and the main part of our energy consumption, of course, relates to heating and accommodation. So if things are going the way they are now, Finland will exceed the prognosis in terms of energy consumption, what we made in the Fit for 55 package. And there are a lot of things that affect this. Of course, the war in Ukraine has had many effects in terms of more housing and accommodation needed in Finland. That's, of course, not the only thing. We have had the same energy shock as everybody else in Europe, and we have had governmental initiatives helping out companies and, of course, citizens to deal with the increasing prices in terms of tax reductions and electricity aid and all of that. What we did do a couple of years before the war broke out, we managed to build a new pipeline from Finland to Estonia to give us a second pipeline, because we only were reliant on one pipeline from Russia first, even though we're not that dependent on gas. It's more of a political issue. But we managed to build together with the Estonians the Baltic Connector pipeline and make new rules and open up the Finnish market to gas competition to begin with. And of course, after that, from the beginning of this year, we got a new floating gas LNG terminal, the new FRSU with the Estonians. So many good things have happened in the energy space, but lots of new regulation has come about, lots of new rules and access to the Finnish markets, and also access from Finland to elsewhere in continental Europe. What is very timely in terms of the green transition, and the grid has been touched upon in some of the speakers' talks before me, Finland has a very good electricity transmission grid, so that is a good basis for everything, and new investments will be made all the time to keep up with the pace of the renewables projects. But what has become a real bottleneck is the permitting, and I think this goes for the whole Nordic countries. So the permitting won't be able to keep up with all of the new projects that come on stream, and that of course will delay everything, will delay the transition, and it will delay the development, and of course create uncertainty in terms of new investments coming in. So, and I think this has been spoken about in many forums, that the permitting in all of the countries needs to get more resources and keep up to date with the demands of today. That's basically all I have from the Finnish side.
Merci. Thank you a lot, Laura, Maître Huomo. To finish, Peter Grima, and after I sum up and propose a new round. Peter, please.
Thank you. So Malta is a bit of a different beast to all the other EU states. We're by far the smallest country in the EU, so our issues tend to be both on a practical and on a technical side. On the technical side, we don't have easy and cheap renewable energy potential. So we don't have hydro potential, we don't have geothermal. We basically had to focus our efforts on solar PVs, because even in terms of wind, even though we are surrounded by water, our offshore territory gets very deep very quickly. So conventional wind energy was never really an option for Malta because of all the ecological impacts of having it close to shore. So we had to focus primarily on PVs, and that essentially ended us in a situation where we had to focus on domestic households because the land mass is not that great. We're only 318 square kilometers spread over several islands. Malta is also the most densely populated country in Europe and probably one of the most densely populated in the world. We have about 1,700 people per square kilometer on the island. And the population has also been increasing tremendously over the last 10 years, together with the tourist population, which doubled between 2011 and 2021. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because we ended up in a situation where we never really foresaw when we started planning our first energy national plan in the 2009-2010 period, which was that the population would increase by 25% over the course of 10 years, and the tourist population would increase by 50%, and that would mean we're going to have a huge energy demand. So far, we have managed to reach 12% renewable energy contributions purely from solar PV panels. But the aim is obviously to reach much more stringent targets by 2030. What we've been focusing on over the last couple of years is essentially reducing our emissions and increasing our security of supply. So we were an isolated system, a proper island, so to speak, in 2015. And in 2015, we interconnected with an electricity interconnection to Sicily. So we have a 200 megawatt interconnection with Sicily, which gives us up to 35% of our capacity requirements. We're in the process of developing another interconnection on the same capacity to another part of Sicily. And we're also in the process of building a gas pipeline to mainland Italy. So these efforts are geared towards increasing our security of supply and also giving us another avenue for gas, because we had converted our power stations over the last 7 years to run on gas when they previously ran on heavy fuel oil. So that transition in itself brought about a significant reduction in emissions. But our main issue now is seeing how we are going to enhance renewable energy deployment offshore. And the only way we can do this is if we deploy floating offshore wind and floating solar, because the territory on land does not permit for significant solar farms, and wind was the idea of having wind farms on land was discontinued very quickly. So yeah, that is the overall situation in Malta, and I can stop there.
Thank you a lot, Peter, and thank you to all for this different and complete presentation. Raising many issues, I have tried, it's complicated, and to sum up the subject. The idea is to identify the common subject. Before the subject, one observation, I think that we all raised, I observe on the different speak, the question of the inequity of the localization of resources, infrastructure. There is a specific question of the insular question. This is a geographical question, but important question for the development of the policy of energy in the European Union. This question of inequity in infrastructure, resources, investment, and well, that's a first observation. And after, we raise a lot of common questions. The question of prices, it is the most obviously the most evident in the concept and in the context, and the question of regulation of the wholesale market, for example, but also with national mechanism to cap the price. Donc prices. Second aspect, infrastructure. We speak about interconnection, LNG, storage of electricity, storage of gas, and maybe the common interests for certain infrastructure at the European scope. Second aspect. Third aspect, the question of dependence, dependence from the gas of Russia, from coal, and this question on how we a board collectively, we make a collective effort to assume an energy transition for all state members, and notably concerning the state member dependent from fossil fuel and coal. And we finish about the question of carbon markets, not developed, but and to finish with an important question, prospective one, the question of the collective choice at the European scope for the mix in Europe. What energy we decide to invest in, and do we decide if we, for example, maintain nuclear? I don't support the French position, but do we decide that these nuclear plants are European interest plants? That's a question to raise. Why I say that just keywords, but we see, I think, one, the interest for comparative law in the European Union between different laws. We share knowledge. I discover some things, honestly, and I think that's the interest to work together. Two, and Laura Huomo says that, and other, the question of the good practice and maybe the good situation to observe and maybe the bad situation to observe in order to share knowledge between member states. Donc, comparative law. And second aspect is a question of the regulatory instruments we have to conserve. We have to be innovative, creative in order to develop, enhance the solidarity in the European Union concerning the different subjects I observe. And I think that the role of EFELA, but it's my position, it's to create conference, create debates, maybe propose sometimes new regulatory framework, etc., in order to help the policymaker to construct a more fair and sustainable policy framework. And that's my question. In your view, from your country, I think that you correct me, Vicente, but I think that no one in this panel is member of EFELA yet, or observer in EFELA. Yes, maybe Cyprus. Cyprus is observer. Okay. Sorry, sorry, Constantin. Donc, and a good one. Donc, the question is, but maybe we could begin by Constantin. Is this network of lawyers helpful to make the energy transition as a European scope? And in your view, from your country, with your expertise, do you think that it could be helpful? Maybe we could begin by Constantin, because it's an observer for the moment in the EFELA, and after we continue the roundtable. Constantin?
Yes, of course. I think there's a very good initiative, and it's a very helpful initiative also, because all this exchange of knowledge, of experience between the countries of Europe and essentially EU countries, it's give us a lot of information and help us to redesign and to renovate the energy law. Also, as EFELA is and a kind of consular of European Union concerning the energy law matters, that give us a direct feedback from EU legislation initiatives, and from the other side, this give us the opportunity to give to the EU, the European Commission, and the other European institutions information concerning the situation of energy law and energy sector in EFELA country members. So I think it is a very good idea, and I strongly believe that we have to continue this effort, and the organizer of conferences like the conference of today, it's a helpful, how can I say it? It's very helpful to the development of and the exchange of information and knowledge.
Thank you, Constantin. Maybe we could pursue remotely. Laura Huomo, if my information are correct, no, is there any energy law association in Finland? And what is your opinion about the subject of sharing knowledge, participate to legal events at the European scope? Okay, I give you the floor.
Yeah, there is no real energy law association per se in Finland, but there are different types of associations for different energy forms, or, you know, there is a wind power association and biogas association, and those associations, of course, they have lawyers in them that try to bind together the national level and the EU level in terms of regulation, and then, of course, having the participants' view on how things work on practice. So we would get more infrastructure ongoing and more projects online. But where I find associations like EFELA potentially very beneficial is that, depending on, as we have seen in this panel already, all of the countries have a slightly different situation and they slightly different needs. But irregardless, I think the way we can, as lawyers, give good choices and views to our regulators and lawmakers are by giving examples. That's what they're looking for. We're always looking at what the others are doing. So if there is a well-founded structure that can be found anywhere within the European Union, that will speed things up, because then they will have like a peer group, a certainty from another country that, and better yet, if it's a very similar country to the country where this specific problem is, it always helps and speeds up processes for getting new regulation and new practices for the authorities to take forward and apply in their everyday work. So in that sense, I find this very beneficial.
Yeah, I share your opinion. Peter, maybe could you give us your opinion on that subject?
Yeah, sure. I really agree with actually what Laura was saying. Malta, like Finland, doesn't actually have an energy law association, but I am part of the Maritime Law Association in Malta, so I understand very well how useful national law associations are to act as a bit of a go-between between regulators and the industry, and actually become a sort of counselor and advisor to government in some respect. In terms of potentially forming an energy law association and joining the EFELA, I think it would be quite useful, particularly to Malta, because our energy sector is quite young as a liberalized and more advanced energy sector. Up until 2015, we had one state corporation, which was both the sole producer, sole distributor, and sole supplier of electricity, and we were completely isolated. Now we are interconnected. We have more of a split between the energy producers, because now solar has been connecting to the grid, and so has new generators come in, which are separate from the state corporation. And so it's getting a bit more sophisticated, so to speak. We're also now looking to connect to the European gas grid with a hydrogen-ready gas pipeline. So I think the experiences that can be shared with us based in Malta by our colleagues overseas who have more advanced energy setups and energy systems would be extremely useful.
Thank you a lot, Peter. What about you, Andrius?
Yeah, I believe two factors here. So internally, equally so, we have a number of industry associations in the energy sector, but we don't have an association of energy lawyers. And I believe that would be a great thing to establish, because, well, quite often we see the situation that energy policy takes one way, energy law another way, and, well, general logics based on physics takes it the third way. So to streamline this effort between energy law practitioners, in-house lawyers, lawyers in the institutions, that would be a very great platform to streamline the views, the practices, and to provide well-based offers for energy legislation, policy measures, and so on. And the external factor, well, I believe that would be a great comfort to have this network of colleagues who are basically, vividly speaking, an email away for exchanging certain practices, because very often we are looking for some creative solutions, and it's not necessary each time to reinvent the bicycle, and it only needs to see what other countries did in similar situations, and to look for certain precedent, to look for certain similar practical solutions. So I believe expanding this network across as many EU member states as possible would be a great advantage for all of us.
Thank you, Andrius. Robert, please.
Thank you very much. I think it's very useful to establish a Hungarian association at the same time. In Hungary, the situation is quite similar as in Finland or in Lithuania, because we have several sectoral organizations like wind organization, electricity traders organizations, and so on. But in Hungary, we do not have a specific organization related to energy lawyers. Before COVID, with a group of people, we tried to form it. And I think it's going to be the right time. And we are on a process to reorganize and regroup those experts in the country what we have right now. The question is how we structure it. That's another important question. How are we going to finance it? It's also another thing. But first of all, I believe, according to my understanding, we would like to establish a three group of people. One would be the practitioners who can be part of the associations in one level. The second level would be the academic, basically researchers. In Hungary, we are very few of them, because most of the energy lawyers do practice and not participating in academic activities. However, there are a few of them. And if we understand energy law in a large extent, if we understand Professor Herfrank talking about what is energy law about, so if you understand certain aspects of environment protection and so on, so there's room for those experts in that association. Due to my academic background, I would heavily focus on young researchers, because there are so many talents who are open for energy law. So that would be the third group which we will focus on. And I really try to avoid to be any type of lobby organization, but I think, but still I haven't decided yet. I think that we should leave some room for the industries just to share these ideas. And why it's important to have that type of organization in Hungary? Because Hungary, we have so many developments in the energy market, but most of the legislation is going like overnight laws. You know, in Hungary, due to this illegal invasion by Russians in Ukraine, we introduced lots of laws by regulations. So basically, the government lost power and changed even electricity law in a very short way. And I think that organization could help to show the direction for the market and for the government as well, what to do, because I believe that Hungary shall face several problems, like foreign investments are coming to Hungary, like battery manufacturers, they are coming and they need much more energy what we have right now. And it opens lots of debates and lots of questions, environmental issues, and that's actually how we shall serve these companies with the electricity, especially, of course, with water as well, but electricity is a key question. So therefore, if there would be an organization which I try to establish during this year, then it could show, and also would like to establish a special journal related to the Hungary Association and have purely energy law issue, basically scientific publications, and that could help to show the direction, at least for energy lawyers, what to do and what type of perspectives we can have instead of overnight legislations. So this would be my aim to do so.
Merci, Robert. Grzegorz, to finish, and after will ask the president of EFELA.
Okay, so I'd like to start by saying that one of the things about Polish energy law is that, as I said previously, it's extremely complicated. And that's because the education on energy law, as it was previously said in certain panels, is really, really problematic. And so in Poland, we actually do have one association of energy law lawyers. It was established in 2021, which is not so long ago. And most of the energy associations which exist, they are just not consisting of lawyers, mostly economists and some technicians. And so joining EFELA for a Polish Association of Lawyers, it would be extremely beneficial because it would create a wider network of experts, of meritorical support for our legislation concepts, maybe certain legal mechanism concepts. It will give us a little bit of power to push some necessary reforms through our legislator. Because currently we can see the effect of poor education in energy law in quality of our legislation, which happens right now. And to give an example to it, of course, during my first question, I didn't even say about energy law, about energy justice, but I'd like to agree with my colleague from Portugal. I also never heard about energy justice up until a year and a half, and that's because energy is so complex in Poland that concepts like this are just not popular. And maybe when a group of lawyers properly backed up by an international group of specialists, maybe then we will be able to do some changes and somehow to manage this complex subject.
Merci beaucoup. Vicente, est-ce que je peux te laisser conclure? Could I let you conclude the panel? And maybe after we could have a short Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Luis. If you allow me to stand up, particularly with respect to the whole audience that has attended all this morning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And had contributed very much to the quality of the debate. So thank you so much. Thank you so much of all the members of this session. It has been extremely interesting for me and all the panels that are in and abroad, but very nearby to all of us, and for your reflections, for your contributions, for the density of the topics that you have analyzed. That I believe it was so impressive. I take a lot of notes. But with regard to the EFELA, what I would like to perhaps to put forward is a couple of things, or three things, if you may wish to know it. First, that of course we welcome very much all of you on behalf of your country and your community of lawyers as an observing members, and then you will have some time to organize accordingly the position in your national domain and sphere, to bring together all your colleagues that are also experts and lawyers specialized in energy law, and also coming from different angles of the energy sector in law. And that is, I believe, one of the more beautiful characteristics of the EFELA Foundation. We have people that were former commissioners or even commissioners now. It is the case of Constantinos, that they are doing a fantastic job in EFELA. We have also members from the academia, member practitioners, experts from companies and corporations, and all of this creates a real richness and quality of our debate. That is the first. That is the first point. So all this network with these profiles, I think, is one of the most important values from the EFELA organization. Another point is that once we compone all this team, the others, the people whom we talk, are seeing ourselves with more stronger voice. That's very important. I remember when I was in the European Commission working as special advisor to the Energy Commissioner or as a regulator, when, for instance, as regulator, when we decided 20 years ago to create the European Council of Energy Regulators, one of the reasons was for better coordinate between ourselves, to enlarge and to reinforce and to escalate the level of our discussion, to help each other of the things that we know, but we be much more protected, even intellectually, but knowing and taking into account the experience of others, and also to have a better and stronger voice with regard to the European institutions. And I believe this latest point is very important and is very consistent. This is a very open organization. We express ourselves with absolutely freedom and liberty. I would say that at the beginning, even with some element of anarchy, but now I think we are a much mature organization, and I think very much legitimate, with a lot of legitimacy before the European institutions, where we have created mutual respect and cooperation. So very much happy to welcome each and all of you. And thanks so much, Constantinos, for the work that you are doing, and for all the members that participate today on behalf of our national associations. I think the existence of the different vertical associations from the industry, according to the different technologies and energy subsectors, is perfect. They are our partners in many things. They also qualify and complete our analysis. But I think the energy law needs this type of representation more than ever. As we said in the first session, and it has been also reinforced later on, we have in a very important energy law momentum. We have some common reference in respect to the difference of nuance in each member state. We have a common reference, that is the European energy law, because at the end of the day, most of the analysis that we have been made is because it's coming from the same umbrella in terms of energy law. And I believe we have to adapt and to consider this type of analysis within this, and also with regard to the new principles of energy law, as we have made this during the whole journey. So thank you very much, Professor Fontenelle, for inviting me to this, to say these words. Once again, thank you to you all.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you a lot, Vicente. I propose to finish, to close this session and to close this first day of conference, but it's not finished. Rafael, maybe you could explain us what are the next step for the day. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. So just a few final comments and reflections before we finish the session today. As you can see, we just timed the finishing of the session perfectly. The sun has just come out for 5 minutes. But it reminds me, I came all this way from Ireland to live in, have a nice lifestyle on the French coast, warmer, and what do I get? It's even worse than where I left. But hopefully, we are going to start the reception very soon. But if you want to go upstairs, there are nice views. Be careful. You're all lawyers here. By entering the building, you signed away the liability in case you slip upstairs. So do watch out when you're trying to take a photo. There are nice views up there, but we will have the reception in here. You can go outside immediately in front or upstairs when it starts, and there will be food coming along as well. But just we want to make some, let's say, a two-part of a final sum up of the meeting. And the first is, this day is designed to be around education, and we do want to take education forward. So it's something, maybe a message for those who do want to get involved. and we will be relying on some of the younger members of EFELA who are here today, maybe Gregory. But although as more members join EFELA, I begin to feel younger myself. So maybe I will also be on that research team. But what we are going to do is begin to hold the legal community in Europe to account. And I just want to give 3 little stories from my own experience. I remember I asked a professor for his curriculum for one of his energy law courses. He wouldn't give it to me. You know, here we are today talking about transparency. Why wouldn't he give me his curriculum? I'm his colleague at his university. And I say to myself, you know, I wonder what he was teaching, you know, what oil and gas, etc., etc. But also, if you actually look, I was teaching mining law. And at the time, there was only 2 mining law textbooks available, both coming from Australia. One had nearly, I think it only mentioned the word environment once in the whole book. The other had 3 pages out of around 300 pages on environmental and social issues. Imagine 3 pages. So you'd begin to wonder, you know, is it the lawyers' fault in Australia that they never encountered any social and environmental issues? Because, you know, they'd never got that training. And that's part of the reason we're here today, is to think, you know, is it our fault? What role can we as a legal community play to change that? And a final example is not so much from law. It was actually one of the very few mining economic textbooks. And the author nearly made a boast in the very start, in the first chapter and the last chapter, and said, you know, ignore all those people who talk about mining and social and environmental issues. There's only one concern in mining, and that's profitability. And that book, you know, was the key book for mining economics for nearly 15 years. And the person still is teaching that. Again, I asked them for their curriculum. No. So had they even changed anything, you know, since the advent, let's say, I mean, climate change was always around, but, you know, had they even changed anything? And I think this calls for us, you know, to think about more accountability. And I think one of the initiative we want to try and begin is to assess across the EU how many countries are teaching energy law, what are the curricula, what do they cover, and do some analysis, do some data analysis to show, you know, where we are today and maybe where we could get to in future, where we should be in future. So those, some of you who are part of your national associations, we will be in touch in terms of a survey. Others will be in touch to make sure academic X or Y tries to reply from that university. You know, we do want to get as many people to contribute and provide a sort of report of energy law education across Europe. So do expect to hear more on that, and hopefully when we're here this time next year, we will have a collective publication from EFELA on that issue. A second, let's say, and final issue that we want to touch on today is, let's say, some good news. You know, lawyers are always pessimistic, some more than others, I think. But we want to finish on an optimistic, let's say, an optimistic point. And let's say, you know, one of the things we want to initiate here is to respect, to honor people who've achieved good things in terms of energy justice. And I had a very long speech prepared in terms of, let's say, giving this award to this particular person. But unfortunately, you're not going to get to hear that long speech because they have to, unfortunately, go very soon and catch a plane home. So what I will just say is a few words that throughout their career, they've tried to achieve change. Throughout their career, they've particularly tried to help younger people along the journey and to try and improve the world and make it a better place. And that contribution comes through not just what they did in their own country, what they did across the EU, and also what they've tried to do internationally. So, you know, without further ado, I'd like to present this award, and we call it the World Energy Justice Congress 2023, the World Energy Justice Practitioner of the Year, and we award it to Vicente, and I should say it's been voted for by a panel representing Asia Pacific, the Middle East, Africa, North, let's say Central and Latin America, and the EU. So a global panel, a global jury to make the vote. So and I'd like to invite everyone to maybe come up here, some of you up to the stage, some of you down below, and if we could take a picture of the collective group still here today for the records. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rafael. Is a great and unexpected surprise for the end of the day, and I'll take it this recognition from my heart. I thank you, and of course, Professor Fontenelle and all of you for these kind words that, of course, I'll take in on behalf of EFELA, because I think this is something that in this recognition, there are some different parts of all the members of EFELA, and I take it on behalf of all of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So if you could all come up and let's take a photo.
I'm going to take the back to you because nothing to be very protect so much. Thank you very much.